Hello again. Today I'm going to focus on one particular move and a series of moves suggested by the computer afterward from the game I've already analyzed. First, I want to give a shout out to my 10-year-old daughter who made the photo that you see down at the lower right, and I have figured out how to add my handle just underneath it, which should be accurate for both Lichess and chess.com, but only if you're sufficiently low enough ranked to look me up for a game. Also, my daughter has suggested that I should have less dead air and a more lively, energetic voice. I will attempt that. Here we go. The move I'm focusing on is right here, which the computer said is good, but that this would be better. And I followed through the series of moves the computer suggested afterwards, and I'm still flummoxed as to how that's better. But first, I should say this game was between me and my 8-year-old son. It was full of mistakes and blunders, starting from a fairly normal 3 knights opening, and we got to about here where he blundered his knight, and then I blundered my bishop and made another mistake and lost my rook. So it was a broken game already, and I was just trying to survive and not have yet another embarrassment of my 8-year-old son beating me. We got to about right here, and then I made that move. So back to the analysis board where the computer says I should have moved b5 instead of g6. Okay, let's say that I had done that. My question upon first evaluation was, why doesn't the bishop just take it? It's free. Nothing's guarding it. I haven't had a chance to put my A pawn up there yet. The only thing I can think of is that if he does take it, then my rook can take this pawn and say check. So I lost a pawn, he lost a pawn, and he's in check. But he can fairly easily move out of check without even blocking his rook. He doesn't have to go there. He can come here. There's not much I can do about that at this point. Or, remembering his bishop is still on the board, can just come back and block the check, if that's where we went. But the computer said he wouldn't take this pawn. The computer said he would get his rook into action, finally, right over here behind my trapped bishop. It's been there for a little while. Can't move because if it takes the pawn, it gets taken again. Well, I can pretty much guarantee that my 8-year-old son would not have chosen that move as his next one. Pretty sure he would have taken this pawn. If he didn't take the pawn because he saw my coming check, then I'm pretty sure his next move would have been to move his bishop away from the pawn, perhaps to here. My bishop's still a giveaway, and both of us had been treating it as trapped, locked in there, so I doubt he would have done this. But the computer says what he would do. What I would do now is take the bishop, which is probably true if we got to that situation. But then he wouldn't take mine, the computer says. The computer says he would just move that pawn up one. Again, I can guarantee my 8-year-old son, and almost any opponent I've ever played, adult or not, would probably just take the bishop at that point. Or the pawn, for that matter. Because that seems pretty straightforward. That seems pretty straightforward. That doesn't, but the computer said that's what he would do. And then I would put my bishop right in the path of this pawn, and he wouldn't take it. He would come down here and say check. Well, maybe he would see check. I've been trying to teach him to look for checks, so maybe he would do that instead. And then, of course, I would have to move out of check. And then it says he would do that with his king, which, again, I highly doubt. I'm fairly certain he would try to put me in check again, which now the computer is saying that's what he would do. But in the evaluation, it says then I would do this. Again, leaving my bishop there for the pawn to take. Then he would put me in check with that, which he might do. I might block it this way, or I might block it this way. Either way, he's got all kinds of power coming to it. My point is, I think, is that in real life, the computer does not take into account that in real life you're playing human opponents. Human opponents would not at this point move the rook over and give their bishop away to this pawn, unless they're magically trained experts who have studied all these computer moves. And even if they did that, my follow-up move probably wouldn't be what the computer said. Maybe the next one, yes, but the one after that, no. That's not going to be my follow-up move, I guarantee. And in fact, here the computer is saying that's not what I should do anyway. It's saying I should do this now. So I'm going to try to keep this in mind when evaluating my games with computers. And it says, oh, that's good. This move was good, but it would have been much better to just put this pawn here because he's a computer too and he's not going to take it. Instead, he's going to come over here and we're going to end up in this situation where I'm going to get a bishop. Then he's not going to take my bishop. And I'm going to put my bishop there, and then he's not going to take it with his pawn. He's going to, and then here he's just going to move his king once. Nobody knows why. And I'm going to leave my bishop there. And he's not going to take it. So my point is, I have to remember that there's two paths coming out of every evaluation move. And even if this wasn't the best, which it probably wasn't, that my opponent is a human, and in this case, an 8-year-old, who's only been playing chess less than a year. So that might have been my best move. And as it was, we ended up with a stalemate. As you can see from a few moves further in this game, we all made mistakes, and he chose the ratings bump over the chance at checkmate, which he probably could have gotten if he had thought about it. But in real life, I'm playing this kid, not playing these things that the computer guesses people will do, because my opponent's never going to be a computer. And most of the time, it's not even going to be a highly ranked human. So I hope that makes sense to you, because it makes sense to me. I'm rated about, as you can see, 1,090 in rapid, and not much higher, maybe 1,200 in daily. So I'm not playing people that are ranked 2,400, or and hopefully not playing very many people that are using an analysis engine against me. I'm playing people who see a free bishop here, and I'm playing people who see a free pawn here. And that's how I have to play for now, because I'll never understand why that was a good move. Anyway, thank you for watching. You have a good one.